Hey guys, welcome. Musky Roadville Podcast, episode number 229. Guys, thanks for listening. We're finally done with sports shows. Thank God. And guys, if you notice my sexy radio voice tonight, I contribute that to some good old phlegm and probably bronchitis and something else that I caught during my many travels. Just got done with the Minnesota Musky show this last weekend. And, for you guys up north, I'm tired of seeing snow. And I'm sure you guys are too. That was a heck of a show up there. A lot of people showed up for it. Had quite a bit of snow there on Saturday that kind of, I think, slowed it down towards the evening for us. But it was a good show. But while we were up there, I got a chance to see my friends at Thorn Brothers. Guys, check it out if you're ever looking for to order musky baits online or looking for something, whether it be in the baits, the rods, reels, electronics. Check out Thorn Brothers. They're right there in the Minneapolis area. Go to thornbros.com. You can check out especially some of their new line of rods, their Stealth series. I picked up some of those this weekend. Super light rods, heavy actions, built super tough. So make sure you check those out at thornbros.com. On the podcast tonight, we got Jeff Van Remortal from up in Wisconsin and Brian Clark from in PA. Guys, how you doing?
Doing good, boss. Thanks for having me on. Good seeing you this weekend, and looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, it was good. How did you think the show went this weekend, Jeff?
It wasn't too bad. I think Friday crowd seemed pretty hungry. Seemed like a pretty good day Friday. I know a lot of vendors that had good days Friday, and then Saturday the weather certainly hampered everything, and Sunday was typical Sunday, slow and steady. But yeah, overall I'd say body count was down for sure compared to what we would expect. But boy, there was some pretty miserable weather there. That's kind of par for the course. You start getting freezing rain, and I mean, I almost biffed it in the parking lot walking in there. It was all melted underneath, and we get that fresh snow on top, and caught my balance, thankfully. But I was walking like, whoa, that feels a little slippery. And the next step, I was about face planted. So
it was
getting stuff like that. It's not good,
Yeah, it was pretty crappy. Now you were working in the Rick Lax booth, weren't you?
Yeah, yep, I was. Yeah, we were in the Lax booth there, had a decent show, and but it's always so great. You get a lot of the people that you just don't get to normally see. I mean, you go to a lot of different shows too, and it is, the kind of the Milwaukee, Chicago, and Wisconsin Muskie Expo. You get some of the same folks there, but like the Minnesota has people that, you don't get to see those guys everywhere. Same, I'm sure, for when you go over to Pennsylvania and other stuff too, where you just kind of get to see all the Minnesota boys. So it was great, catching up with everybody for sure.
Yeah, you get to see a good mix. Now, week before last, Brian, we had the Muskie Max there in Pennsylvania. How did you, what was your takeaways on that one?
I thought it was a great show. Sean does a great job. That pro guide panel is something unique that none of the other shows have, where there's 6 of us up there answering an hour-long Q&A. And actually, this year I was impressed. The questions for us up front were a little better than the years prior, so it was kind of fun answering some of those questions. I had a couple of my clients out there in the crowd that were peppering us, but no, it was a great show overall, and like Jeff said, good to see a lot of different faces and a lot of clients and whatnot. So
yeah, no, I thought it was a good event, and so far all the shows this year I thought were pretty darn good. So I was happy with that and everything. But it was all a good deal this year. Now, before we get going here into kind of the main topics for the show tonight, just want to mention here that a kind of one of the older musky legends of the Northwoods actually passed away here recently over the weekend, and I know a lot of guys might have heard his name before, but Dave Dorazio passed away. And for you guys that don't know or didn't know who Dave was an old-time Chippewa flowage, Hayward area guide, kind of, fished in the traditional Tuffy style, had the Tuffy Esox Magnum boat, and was around the scene for a long time. And personally, Dave was a guy that I really, really liked. When I first got into musky fishing and doing the shows and stuff, back in the late 90s. Dave was one of the first guys to really who was really nice to me and Tony and some of the Southern guys that were coming up there. Dave was just a super nice guy to us, and would hang out, and we would talk, and he's actually the one that got me involved with St. Croix. When I was doing St. Croix stuff, he introduced me to Rich Belanger, and he was just a really, really nice guy. And Dave also, he didn't start the bait company, but he did. He sold Eddie baits there for a long time. One of the original old glide baits that was around up in the North Woods with the fixed leader right on the head of it. That kind of was one of the first of its kind. And he also made boo tails. He's the one that came up. Him and Bruce Shumway were the ones that made the boo tails. And when I first started fishing Mille Lacs back in the 2001, 2002, and 3, the boo tail, this was pre-Cowgirl, and the boo tail was my go-to bait after dark. I caught a lot of really big fish after dark on the boo tails, and it was a bait that I still to this day have a few in my tackle box. All marabou bucktail, one of the first ones that was made. I think the first one that was ever made. And Dave was just a really, really good guy, and I felt a little bad when I'd kind of lost touch with him, and then I seen this weekend that he had passed away. So my condolences are definitely with him, his wife, and his son Mike, and they really, really good guy, and someone that I can definitely say that when I was getting started was really nice and helpful to me and Tony and everyone down here. So just wanted to mention that Dave was just a great guy, and caught a lot of big fish and a good ambassador for the sport. So he's going to be missed, and like I said, he was a good fella. But you said Jeff, you didn't really know Dave?
No, certainly knew him by reputation. I talked to him, once or twice in passing over the years, more so like you said, 10, 12 years ago, but did not ever have any real personal connection with him or anything like that. But certainly he was, in a lot of books and stuff from back in the day. I remember reading some of his stuff from in the Musky Chronicles, the Eli Singer books there, the Eli Singer book. I haven't read a ton of Musky books, but that was one that was given to me by a friend, and I was like, you kind of read it, and they do a lot of interviews with, guides from around, the North Woods and other places back in the day there, and Dave was one of those folks in there, and like I said, there's plenty of other publications he had been a part of as well. Yeah, but he'll be missed for sure.
Yeah, he was kind of a fixture there in the Hayward area.
Chippewa
flowage and all that, and he was a really good guy. So, but Brian, what have we got going on tonight? You got to explain this to people because I'm very stupid. So you need to explain this.
Yeah, so obviously it's March, and with March comes March Madness. And back in the year of 2020 with COVID and cancellation of everything, including college basketball, I was kind of, we were all very bored, and what can we do? And basically we came up with a musky fishing bracket for the top 64 musky waters on the planet. And we had posted it on Facebook and had a feature that allowed all the Facebook users to actually vote on which lake they would rather fish. So what we're doing this year is, instead of doing our favorite lakes or where we would rather fish, we're doing what lures do we like better. And we have a list of 64 of the most common musky baits out there. Now, it's obviously going to upset a few people out there that their favorite bait didn't make the list, but what can you do?
Sure. Not every team makes the NCAA.
Right. So yeah, 64 baits. I believe we have like 30 trolling baits and 34 casting baits. So it's a good mix for everybody out there, whether you're from Pennsylvania and love trolling or Minnesota and love casting. But yeah, so in order to participate, what you need to obviously do first is get a Facebook account. If you already have a Facebook account, what you're going to do is just search in Musky Hunter Mag Bracket. And that is the page in which we're going to be conducting all these polls on. And basically what I'll do is every day or every other day I'll put up a couple matchups, and it'll be bait A versus bait B. And if you like bait A, all you do is click on it and your vote has been cast. It's actually very simple. The most difficult aspect of this whole thing might be just finding the page. But I think once this gets out there, you know, there's going to be a lot of participation. A lot of bait makers are going to be sharing this. And, you know, there's going to be a lot of your buddies commenting on it, casting their votes. So I don't think it'll be too difficult to find. But that Facebook page, again, is called Musky Hunter Mag Bracket. And
well, good, because I want controversy. Nothing like good controversy on a you know a fictional bait bracket. That's what I want, though. Is I want.
Well, Lord knows this is the time of year that the controversy gets a rolling online, is it not?
Oh, I know. Actually,
everybody gets a little squirrely this time of year.
Well, I tell you, I got out today. I took my first trip today, and it was nice to be out on the water. You know, it got up to around 50 degrees today, so that was nice. It had been cold the last few days, highs in the 30s, and tomorrow it's even supposed to be up near 60, so I'm looking forward to it. So it was nice to get out there and get the gills wet and try some stuff. But Brian, why don't you're going to be the official orator or the narrator here, and why don't you read us this, and we'll go through the bracket. Me, you, and Jeff can talk about it and see what our picks are.
All right. So what we're going to do is start off in the Northwest region, where we have all trolling baits. So these first 8 matchups are going to be trolling baits. And with the number 1 seed overall, we have Grandma's going up against Loki's. So that is matchup 1.
Okay, Grandma's versus Loki's. I have a lot of opinions here. Grandma, great bait, tons of tradition. Guy, I don't think there's a musky fisherman out there that probably has not heard of a Grandma. They may not have fished one, but they've got them now. And Jesus, I think there's there's a 4-inch, 5-inch, or a 4-inch, 6-inch. 7.5, 9, deep, shallow 9s, deep 9s, 13-inch. Just a great all-around bait. The Loki, more of a St. Clair, more of a, kind of a niche bait that you're going to find there. And as with most 1 versus 16 seeds, I'm going to go Grandma. Jeff?
Yeah, it's going to be hard to pull the Grandma out of my hands in that case. I do, a fraction of the trolling that you guys do, but I would definitely say even on the casting side of things for the versatility and my confidence bait, if I had to pick one trolling bait overall, especially in that matchup, I would say it's probably going to be the Grandma, at least for my applications here. A lot of that stuff, too, the trolling, we do like to do a lot of. We can only troll 1 line per person here. So in the times I am trolling, whether I'm scouting, working along lead edge or doing some contour trolling or structure trolling, where I got, where you're like, I like to do like the jerk trolling type deal where you're ripping and moving it around like that when you're scouting. And again, like I said, it's going to be the Grandma for me. But on all fairness, I guess I don't really run any Loki's, so it's kind of a biased opinion.
That's fine. We'll take biased. I love a good bias.
Yeah. It was mentioned, so it's being honest.
Yeah, Brian, you.
I got a vote for Grandma's as well. Loki's are pretty killer on Claire in the summer, but for where I fish for the most part and how I fish, Grandma's are it for me. And I just want to say for the record, guys, and this is for everybody out there, these rankings really don't mean anything. Maybe the number 1 seed in each bracket and the 2 seed in each bracket means something, but there are just so many damn baits out there, and everybody has their own
it's all in good fun. It's all in good fun. We're not telling anybody not to buy a bait or something.
We toiled over these things.
We need something to talk about. It's March, and we need something to talk about.
I mean, I actually got my protractor out. That we have really researched everything with this, and been deep in thought. And so if you have any, if you need, if you have a complaint, please text us to our text line because it's Tony's cell phone. Please.
Isn't that Tony's number? Perfect.
Yes. Please send all complaints to 606-776-6570. That's the Lunge and Lures text line, or as we'll call it now, the Lunge and Lures complaint line. It'll be 606-776-6570. Lunge and Lures. They're going to be on here some, 22 short, 22 long, a ton of different crankbaits. Make sure you check them out at lungeandlures.com. All right, Brian, what's next?
The next matchup, we have the B&N Fat Shad versus the Rapala Super Shad Wrap.
Ooh, and what is this? What is this matchup?
The seed, it's technically an 8 versus 9.
An 8 versus 9. All right. Well, this is coming to me here. We have the Rapala. We have the only bait when I was a kid that I thought ever caught muskies because Al Lindner threw it.
Right.
That and the Blue Fox. And then I realized he got paid to say that. And then I thought, well, everything else works too. And then the B&N Fax Shad. To be honest, down here in the South, I like the shad baits. I've been using the B&N stuff for a while. So I'm going to go B&N. Just because I've been using those baits for a while now, and they've been working really well for me. So, what about you, Jeff?
I'm going to probably go with the Rapala. I guess I can't really say I've run any B&Ns, but I have caught fish on the Super Shad Wrap, casting it. And I guess you could go back to the Green Bay roots if you need one bait that's going to probably outproduce all other baits. Doesn't matter how cool, expensive, or elite your crankbait is, it's probably going to be the good old Rapala Super Shad.
Yeah, that is one thing.
Pretty hard to beat out there. Just the right size, the right profile.
That's something that always made me laugh.
Isn't it hilarious?
On Green Bay, is the old Shad Wrap it's everybody.
I mean, one could probably make the argument it's got about as many 50s to its name, as just about anything out there.
Sure.
Maybe the exception of guys that troll Claire heavily, but you think about just the size caliber of fish on Green Bay and the number of guys that run it. I mean,
no.
Good gravy. It's unbelievable how many big fish that thing's caught.
Exactly. What about you, Brian?
I run both a lot. Springtime, it's the Super Shad Wrap. Summertime, it's the Fat Shad by B&N. I got to support the guys in the industry, so I'm going with Bob and Nick with the Fat Shad.
Nice.
Right on.
Don't
All right,
don't sell out. What's all right, who we got?
We have the 5.5 Wileys versus the Slammer Minnows.
Ooh, 5.5 Wiley versus Slammer Minnows. And what is the seeds here?
Technically, it's Wiley's at the 5 seed, the Slammer's at the 12.
All right. Well, in every NCAA tournament every year, it's happened over the last 20 years, a 12 always beats a 5, except for this time. And I have got to go with the 5.5-inch Wiley. I do love the Slammers, don't get me wrong, but I've caught so many muskies on 5.5-inch Wileys. The biggest fish I have out of Cave Run is on a 5.5-inch Wiley. The biggest fish I have out of Green River is on a 5.5-inch Wiley. St. Clair, I've caught a ton of fish. I've in a lot of lakes throughout the Midwest. I've caught fish on 5.5-inch Wileys. I'm going 5.5-inch Wiley.
Now, this is maybe a silly question, but all of that's been trolling, I assume.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Slammer up here. Again, don't do a ton of trolling. I have caught 1 or 2 trolling on the Slammer, but I've also used them quite a bit as a jerk bait and a twitch bait. Unless you're talking about just specifically ones for trolling there or just specifically trolling technique, I'll go with the Slammer just because that's what I've caught more fish on, and, again, the versatility.
All right. Brian, I think I know what you're going to say.
You know what state I live in, and you know where Wiley's come from. So,
yes.
Right?
Hey, boy, we're going with
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
Yep. All right. So the next matchup, the 4 seed. I kind of threw 2 baits into one. We got the headlocks and the matlocks versus the 13 seed, the Leo Mojo.
Oh my! All right, now this one, I literally, it all depends on kind of what you're doing now. Up north, when I say up north, Minnesota, Canada, Wisconsin, I would definitely be leaning. I've caught more on the matlock and headlock, and it's traditionally a superior, big fish bait. Duff, the guy that makes them, is a really, just a great guy, makes a great lure, but I got to go with the Mojo. I've caught so many fish on that bait. I've caught so many fish on those Mojos ever since. Todd cut his thumb off making the Mojos, so he's bled for that lure, and now
I think it was his pointer finger because that was his airbrush finger. Now he had to switch to his middle finger to hit his airbrush, right?
See, it's made him a better man that he's down a digit. But yeah, I've caught so many fish on those, especially when I was doing the St. Clair thing. Every year I got 50-inch fish on them. Down here in Kentucky, I had them in the water today. They didn't catch anything today, but that's okay. But I have got to go with the Mojos just for the sheer fact that I've caught so many muskies on them in a short period of time. Actually, it's the bait at Eagle River and Three Lakes chain. I've caught fish every year that he's made them on the Eagle River and Three Lakes chain. So, yeah, it's a pretty incredible bait. So, Jeff, I have a feeling what you're going to say.
Yeah, the old headlock and the matlock's going to get my vote for that. If I had to pick one or the other, I'd probably go with the matlock. The old gold walleye, nice and simple, beautiful. That's one of my number one picks for up in my neck of the woods, certainly.
Sure.
All right, so if you had to go between headlocks only or matlocks only, which would you go with?
Ooh, I'd probably go with the matlock, I think.
Okay. There's about 10 days a year where I would choose the headlocks and the matlocks, and those 10 days are when I'm up in Canada. But for every other day of the season, I'm going with Leo Mojos, especially if you're fishing cold water, springtime, Pennsylvania Reservoir, shad muskies. You have to have Mojos out there. So, Greg, I agree with you, the Leo Mojo.
See, a man bled for it. All right, what's next?
All right. The next matchup is the number 6 seed, Tough Shads, versus the 11 seed, DK Lures.
All right, well, I got to go with this one. I got to go Tough Shad, even though Mike Mortis is a goofy guy. He makes a great bait, great paint jobs, great lures. Whether you're talking wooden or plastic. And to be honest, I just don't know a lot about the DK stuff. I know it's kind of a niche bait for the guys out east. It's just something I've not really played a lot with, so I'm going Tough Shad.
Yeah, I think I'm going to lean towards the Tough Shad, too. If I'm not mistaken, I didn't one of Gelb's fish come on a Tough Shad, the one that's on the cover of his book?
Yep, Gelb's.
A 51-pounder up here. It was on a Tough Shad, I think.
Yeah, it was on one of the 8-inchers.
Yeah, I believe so. White with a black back and black dots on the side. I'm pretty sure. I'm like 99% sure. But, yeah, I'm going to go with the Tough Shad on that one. I'm not super familiar with the other bait. I haven't really run them either, so I guess that's a little bit biased for sure again. But knowing that it produces on these waters, knowing it's caught one of the biggest fish caught up here in recent history, certainly, caught, weighed, verified. And I'm going to go with the Tough Shad on that one.
All right, Brian.
I like Tough Shads. I like DKs. I'm not really in love with either. Oh man, I'll go 3 with Tough Shad. If I had to choose only one bait to carry in the boat all year round, it'd be a Tough Shad over a DK. But I do like the DKs. All right, number 3 seed is a perch bait versus the 14 seed Musky Candies.
Ooh, okay. Perch bait
the
versus
sniper in particular.
The musky the musky candies. I'm going to have to go perch bait on this one. I've not caught a ton of fish on perch baits, but I have caught a few. I caught some fish in tournaments on them. Great bait, runs super very, very easily to tune. You can run them at super fast speeds. I don't know a ton with the candies. Haven't really used those. But, yeah, I'll definitely go perch bait. Jeff?
Yeah, I'm going to go with perch bait as well. Again, haven't really run any candies, but my largest trolling fish up here came on a perch bait. That was a 49, northern Wisconsin. And again, our Cisco leaders really seem to like those up here. And that's one that goes back quite a ways. And even back, going out road trolling with buddies and stuff back in the day, that was another one that was real popular as well and caught a lot of big fish up here. Below the radar. Definitely a known bait for sure, but not something you necessarily hear about as much on the social media and stuff like that. The guys who know for sure, but I'm going to definitely vote on the perch bait for this one.
Yeah, I'm going to vote
straight model. Straight model.
Even though Cullen's 58-pounder on his own bait, it's kind of.
Yeah, that's a hell of a fish for sure.
Right.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm going with the perch bait. I own a lot more of them. I've caught a lot more fish on them. So. All right. Next matchup, the 710. We have the crankbait 207 versus the old school Pikey Creek chub.
Oh man!
Old school.
Oh, I love it.
That both have a history.
Oh.
The Pikey Creek chub has all its history. Maybe the grandfather of all crankbaits that got things going. But I think I got to go with a 207 crane. Bill and Sharon, two greatest people. It's a bait that anybody can use. It can be used shallow. It can be twitched. It can be straight retrieved. I'm going with the crane. Jeff?
Yeah, I've caught fish on both. The crane is definitely getting my vote there. If there's one jerk bait that I have in my box, and I've done it twice in tournaments, where just needed a 3-footer. You know what I mean? Just need a 3-footer. You don't want, you need.
Yep.
If I need one jerk bait to get them out of there, especially in a stain system that was actually out on the pike ground chain, the one, it was just a glide bait bite. They were going on that. We lost several fish, getting down to the wire, broke up the old 207, popped a nice little 3-footer, and secured a 4th place finish in the championship the 1 year out there. It was one of those we could only double, so we could only catch 2, but we were off the water after that. Had to stop fishing, but that little bait has come through. Durability definitely doesn't get super high marks on my part, but I've got a dozen of them spent in a box right here. I'm actually looking at them right now. I'm like out in my shack here, and I got a bunch of them stacked up there, and I always keep 1 or 2 in the package in the boat because you can go through them pretty quick. But man, if you need a fish, if you need a bite, like I've got a dozen different ways I feel I can get that bait out there and get it bit.
Exactly. Brian?
I just realized I put that in the wrong region. Oh well.
That's okay. You're forgiven.
Yeah, I'm going with the Pikey Creek chub. I got just way too much history with Pikey Creek chubs. Those were like the first trolling baits I ever used. I still throw them out every once in a while. They got a unique action, and I don't know. I got history with them, so I'm going with the Pikey Creek chub.
Awesome.
That's a good little bait, man, for sure.
Yeah. Right. All right. In the last matchup in the Northwest region, we have Jake's versus the Musky Train Mag Diesel. That's another tough shad kind of bait, mortise bait.
All right. Well, I tell you, it's that one's probably going to be
215 seed combo.
A 215. Well, the 15 is not going to win this one. I got to go with the big Jake on this one. I've just caught fish on Jakes everywhere. My buddy Kevin Nash in the PMTT, he cast them, and the man twitches a big 10-inch Jake more than anybody I know, and has done very well with it over the years in a bunch of different systems. Trolling-wise, I've caught fish trolling on them from Kentucky all the way up to Canada. It's hard to beat. I'm going 10-inch Jake.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the 10-inch Jake as well. Like you said, that was kind of the rip and rubber before there was rip and rubber. You know what I mean? That was that big body profile bait, getting a bite, eliciting a strike over cover, or really making them eat before there was the rubber on the market. And it's still, that pattern still holds true today, especially up in my waters here. I'll go with the 10-inch Jake.
And lastly, I kind of man, I probably catch equal amount of fish per year on both these baits, but if I can only keep one, it would be the Jake, just because when I bring it out and the weight of the fish I typically catch on them. Yep, Jake's on that one, a sweep. All right, so that wraps up the Northwest region of all trolling baits -1. Now we're going to get into the Southwest region, which is a mixture of casting and trolling baits. So the very first matchup we have with the 1 seed are Musky Mayhem Cowgirls versus Angry Dragons at the 16 seed.
Oh, they're going to remain angry. Because great bait, they do have their own little, their own niche market and stuff, but that's like David versus Goliath. There's just there hasn't been a bait out there like the Cowgirl. When it hit the scene, it was something truly different, truly remarkable, and the way it triggered bigger fish was just insane. So I'm going Cowgirl.
Yeah, I think again, like you said, the chatterbaits and stuff they're an awesome bait. They're well made. They got a nice action. There's definitely a time and a place. But if you're talking one bait and one bait only out of there, like you said, David versus Goliath, I think it's pretty hard to pass up the Cowgirl. I mean, all the way back from the days of Cowgirl Fever in the 06, 07, 09, 08, 09, that time frame there, and man, everywhere you went with that bait, it just crushed big fish. There was just nobody else out there doing it like that. Like Brad and Carey, and even to this day, my best day on Green Bay this year, the junior Cowgirl, man, that's what they wanted. We moved like 32, 34 fish, something like that day. Had 12 bites, and 8 or 9 of them were on the junior Cowgirl. Just plain, simple, straight to the point, and actually one of the second junior Cowgirl I ever bought, blackened chartreuse. First was a black and silver. Yep, one of the old ones, dude. Those hooks on that thing, oh man. There's barely any paint left on the blade. They just need some black and chartreuse, and broke out an old favorite there, gave it to the dude, and they were actually taking turns throwing that one bait. It's like, all right, you caught one, give that to me now,
There you
And then threw it for the next 2 days, didn't see anybody. When they wanted it, and it still holds up, man. It's a hell of a bait.
Good deal. What, Brian?
Yeah, Jeff, I'm glad you specified the junior Cowgirl. So, guys, when you're voting on this at home, read it however you want. It doesn't have to be the double tens, a real Cowgirl. It could be a junior Cowgirl. It could be any Mayhem bucktail. You don't have to follow the rules specifically. There are no rules. Vote for whoever you like. But, yeah, if it was double tens, I would go with the Angry Dragon. But I do use a lot of 9s, a lot of 8s, stuff like that. So I'm going with the Mayhems.
Yeah.
The sweep. Yeah. All right, next matchup. We have at the 8th seed, Lake X Toads, and the 9 seed are Ernie's, and in particular, the little Ernies. I think those are a little more popular, but Toads versus Ernies.
Wow, that's quite an ordeal there. Personally, myself, I mean, the Toads are nice rubber baits, soft plastics. I've got to go, but kind of a newer bait. I've got to go with history on this one. The little Ernie has caught me fish, again, all over the place. Some of my biggest fish in the South have came on little Ernies. I actually caught a white bass, a small muskie, and a smallmouth today on a little Ernie. So I've got to go with the little Ernie on this one. Jeff?
Yeah, for me, I've got a couple little Ernies. I've caught 1 or 2 fish on them, but I mostly just, putzing around with them. But up here, me, I'm a big rubber guy, and the Toad is going to have to definitely take it for me. I've been with John since the inception there when he bought it and took it over from, what's his name there. And, so we, got that bait running straight. And my personal best of 54 is on a Lake X Toad.
Nice.
And I've caught a number of fish on them. Yeah. And there's, you get people get a little tribal sometimes with the rubber stuff. I mean, I know all those guys, all the major rubber guys out there, and I'm good buddies. I like to think with all of them there, and they all got their time in their place. But when you need something you can pop over, give a little hang time to in the weeds, and just have something with a little different action is, different than a deuce, different than a dog. They all got their own little footprint. But that Toad, and especially compared to a crank, I'll have confidence in rubber any day of the week. It's just my style of fishing, and my, even the boat side conversion on that 54 was a boat side convert. Saw it come in, give it a double pop, let it hang in the 8, and she just sucked it in like a piece of candy. It was, can still see it in my mind's eye. So the Toad's got my vote for sure.
Don't blame you. Brian?
I do a lot more casting than trolling, so I'm going with the Lake X Toads. I'm a rubber guy as well. I do like these baits, especially in cooling water, like what Jeff was saying. That hang time makes all the difference. So Lake X toads for me. All right, next matchup, 5 versus 12. 5 seed being Ziggy's, the 12 seed being Shumway Flashers.
Oh
man!
Remember what I told you? There's always a 12 that beats a 5. And I think, I think maybe Ziggy might have been, they fought hard. They won their conference tournament. Everything was good. But you know what? They stayed out a little too late before this game. And, didn't get their sleep and stuff, and was unexpecting the monster. You might have counted him out, but the Lake X not the Lake X, but the Shumway Flasher. I've caught a lot of fish on the Shumway Flasher. Again, like the boot tail, one of the original marabou baits. It was a great bait up in Minnesota. It's actually the reason that there is a cowgirl. Is the Shumway Flasher, and that's where the idea of the tinsel and stuff came from. And I got to go with that Shumway Flasher.
Yep, same for me. The Shumway Flasher, that longer, more slender design, that marabou in there. Again, you talk about, got the 207 crane that I got in the box for when I absolutely need a bite kind of deal, one of those ultra confidence baits. The Shumway Flasher in the baby duck or the black and silver, man, that baby duck in particular, anything, like the Eagle River chain or any of that kind of stuff where it's just a little root beer colored water. Man, I've caught a lot of fish on that. A little different design, nice sleek body, great early season bait. Again, the bucktail's a bucktail in some people's eyes, but that one has a little special vibe to it and catches a lot of fish. I'm going to go with the Shumway Flasher.
Brian?
Now, just because of where I fish and how deep I typically fish, I don't use a ton of bucktails.
Sure.
But I used to spend a lot of time on St. Clair, so there's a spot for Ziggy's in my heart. So I'm going with the Ziggy's. I'll be the lone wolf on this one.
I get it.
Yeah, those St. Clair boys love their Ziggy's. I get it, man. They mash on them, no doubt about it.
Yep. Yes, we do. All right. Next matchup. Radio Face Tony Grant rattle baits versus blue water bait herrings.
Oh, well, we definitely can't compare size of fish that are probably caught on them. But as far as numbers of fish, I got to go with the rattle baits just because I've caught so many fish on rattle baits over the years, mainly in the south, but I have caught some up north on them. So I've got to go rattle baits, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm going to go with rattle baits too. Like you said, sheer volume of fish. Yeah, you might not be whacking 30-pounders, but if you need a 3-footer, or the 28 to 36 inch size class in particular, especially early season, or if you're in a system you're pitching docks and doing almost like a bass fishing approach, especially, those little rattle baits can really get you on the board, and sometimes in a pretty good big number way. So I'm going to go with the rattle bait on that one.
Yep, we're going to do a clean sweep here. Tony Grant rattle baits with the win. All right, next matchup. 6 seed, Shallow Invader. 11 seed, Booker Tail.
Oh, okay. I will say, for me personally, just because I don't throw a ton of Booker Tails. It just never was a bucktail that I threw a lot. Down here, it wasn't a real popular one. But Shallow Invaders, I've caught fish on Shallow Invaders everywhere. It always catches fish. I always have one in my box. They're great down south. My biggest fish, 53-inch fish on Lake of the Woods, came on a Shallow Invader. So I got to go Musky Innovation Shallow Invader on this one.
Yeah, I think the versatility of the Shallow Raider there, cast it, troll it, rip it, pop it, twitch it. You can do just about anything with it. You really can't fish it wrong. That's a very versatile bait. I mean, coming from the Northwoods up here, the Booker Tail is obviously a staple growing up. The 700 Booker Tail, who doesn't have one of those in their box? I mean, pretty much nobody up here. But I think just for the overall versatility and stuff, I think the Shallow Invader is going to get my vote. Again, like I said, it's just it's one of those baits that doesn't get used probably as much as it should. And I'm guilty of that too. But man, when I break it out, I do seem to catch. And it's just, again, the overall versatility in this one. If I could only have one or the other, and maybe that goes a little bit back to my rubber roots too, where I feel like I can make them eat it. If they don't want to eat blades, man, up here, it is tough to make them eat blades. But in those two situations, if I had to have one, I'm going with the shallow invader.
Yeah. I'm going shallow invader as well. As of late, last 4 or 5 seasons, it's been kind of slow, but I anticipate it, coming back into the spread pretty regularly. I think it's one of those baits that if it gets maybe overfished, the fish get used to it. I'm not sure. But it's been pretty tough for me lately. But rewind the clock 7, 8, 10 years ago, it was one of the first baits I'd grab. So, yeah, shallow invader for me. Next matchup, 3-seed. Probably one of my favorite baits, Hellhounds versus the 14-seed Pearson Grinder spinnerbaits.
No, this is a no-brainer for me. It's the Hellhound, another bait I've caught fish everywhere on. It's probably the easiest glide bait there is. Hand it to a guy. You can pretty much show him with the reel how to work it. You can work it fast. You can work it slow. You can let it sink and kind of wobble down. I'm going Hellhound.
Yep, same here. I think I'm going with the Hellhound as well here. Just again, like you said, that's, for glide baits out there, there really is. There's a lot of great glide baits out there, especially now. A lot of basement makers and stuff, a lot of these smaller guys out there making some really nice baits. But man, when you get down to it, there is, for the cost, for the toughness, I've got ones in here that I don't know how many hours and how many, I can't imagine how worn they are, and they run well. They got the little white spot in the front, which I kind of like, keeps you visibility. Especially in the darker water, when you get close to the boat, you can see the hang on it. I'm going to go to Hellhound hands down here.
You literally said everything I was going to.
Well, great minds think alike, but it comes to that, somebody.
The hang time, the easy climb throwing, yeah, they're great.
And then you got the
one thing I like about them is
that little fin in the back. As they fall, they kind of just shimmy back and forth. It's a great bait.
What I like about them, unlike some of the, because there's some beautiful glide baits made there, but
absolutely, some of those ones at the show this week were unreal.
Oh yeah, but in the South, when you hand it to a guy and he throws it up against a tree at Mach 7, the Hellhound doesn't.
Oh, we got pontoons here too, Greg.
Oh yeah, it doesn't. The finish don't crack, and and then it still looks just as good, and it goes side to side. So yes.
I got my worst injury ever fishing was with a Hellhound. I had a buddy. We went on a 3-day camping trip up on Kinzu Reservoir, and he threw a Hellhound about 70 feet up into a tree. It's quite impressive, the cast, and we're underneath the bait. He's trying to shake it free. I go, dude, you got an 80-pound test. Get that bait out of there. He whips it as hard as he can straight down right into my wrist. I'm thinking the bait was going 100 miles an hour. So not only did it stick into the skin, barb deep, but it also never got an x-ray, but it definitely cracked the bone or whatever. It was miserable.
That sounds
that
awful.
Was an 8-incher that
nope.
Squirrely tail.
Don't like that.
No, I would have. I've got one hanging right now. I can drive you to it. It's been up a tree for about 4 years, and it's a nice orange one. And
it's still there.
It's still there. I see
it. Tough as nails, baby.
Oh yeah, that baby ain't going nowhere. I just keep looking by to see if there's I'd love to see a squirrel come by and try to fuck it or something and see what's happening up there. That would have to be just a squirrel hanging from a tree just in mid coitus.
Even catches squirrels.
Exactly. See, that would be a perfect ad for those.
Yeah.
But all right, what's next?
All right, 2 more matchups in the Southwest region. 7-seed Gadsden Blade Baits versus the 10-seed Alley Cat Lures, in particular the Stray Cat.
The Stray Cat and Datsun Blade Baits. Now, me personally, just because I don't own any of Datsun stuff. Now, I know plenty of guys that do and guys that have caught tons and tons of fish on them. But me personally, I haven't really used a lot of Johnny's stuff. So I've actually, I've caught several fish on the Stray Cats. I gotta go Stray Cat just from personal experience.
I'm going to have to go neutral on this one. I've never caught a fish on either one.
Nice.
I've never used the Stray Cat, and I've never used the Stray Cat, and I don't use I don't have any Dadsons. So I had one or two a long time ago, but I never Nope. I guess I'd go with Datsun just because it's a bucktail, and they're certainly well made. I just not a matter of rotation. So I guess I guess maybe not a neutral. I'll go with the Datsun, I guess. But I really no preference one way or the other.
There you go, Brian.
I don't own any Datsuns. I mean, they're amazing looking bucktails, but I do catch a good bit of fish every year on the alley cats, the stray cat in particular. So that's got my vote as well.
All right.
Last matchup, we have the Medusa versus the Standard Ace Bait.
The Standard Ace Bait. Oh, God. See, this is I know a lot of people are going to be going, oh, Medusa all the way. But you know what? I really, really like the Ace spinner baits. I've caught a lot of fish on those, and the more I've been fishing up in Canada, spinner baits have become a big part of what I throw. It's a great shallow water bait. But I guess, it's still hard over the years what the Medusa has done. I got to go Medusa here. I mean, I would love to say Ace bait, but I got to go Medusa.
Yeah, the Ace bait, well-made spinner bait, no doubt about it. If you're throwing something in the rubber category, especially something that more or less helped me launch my foray into musky fishing, a lot of the early fish I caught on there on the old China Deuces, just crushing when nobody was throwing that stuff really. A couple guys in tournaments, but just going out and ripping the daylights out of that stuff and going behind people, sticking 3-4 fish. Man, same thing when the big double cowgirl stuff came out when they just ate it with impunity. It was something to see and something to be a part of, and pretty cool memory. And I've caught, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fish on Medusas. So I'm going to definitely have to go with Medusa there.
I'm going to go with the Standard Ace bait. Where I said earlier, I don't use a lot of bucktails. Spinner baits are what saves me a lot with throwing blades around weeds.
Oh, sure.
I guess on Chautauqua, our weeds are so thick that you got to rip through them, and spinner baits do that best. So I'm going to vote for the 15 seed on that one and go with the Standard Ace bait.
Nice.
Okay. All right. So now we're in the Northeast region, and this is another mixed region. We got a mixture of trolling and casting baits. Our 1 seed is the Depth Raider going up against the 16 seed, the Super Stalker.
That's actually closer that's actually a closer matchup than you think. But I catch fish on the Super Stalkers, casting quite a bit down here. There's a couple little patterns I've got that they work really, really well. It's also a really nice bait for clients. You can cast it, you can troll it. I like the big rubber tail sticking out the back, and but I think I got to go Depth Raider. But I think, for me more, it's the baby Depth Raider. The smaller version. I catch a ton of fish on those in the South. It's almost always in my trolling rotation. And for fishing around weeds, casting, I've caught a lot of fish ripping baby Depth Raiders through weeds. So I'll go Depth Raider. Yeah,
I think same thing here. I don't have a ton of experience with the other one there. The Depth Raider, northern Wisconsin, again, that's it's a pretty standard bait here. Depth Raider and or baby Depth Raider certainly on the trolling side of things. I have both, I guess. They're the Depth Raider for the larger Depth Raider, but it's just such a staple here. I prefer the older ones. Certainly seem to be held up a little better and stuff, and the ones without rattles, it seems if you got to kind of modify there, but. Overall, I'm gonna have to go with the Depth Raider series of baits on this one.
I like the Super Stalkers and like dirty springtime kind of action, but there's not a body of water in the world that I wouldn't go without a couple Depth Raiders. So that's my vote there. I really, really, really like those Depth Raiders, and there's nowhere I go without them. So the 1 seed moves on, in our opinion. The 8-9 seed. These seedings are a little off. I think I'm going to piss off some people, but oh well.
Hey, it's all just for fun.
Make their own bracket.
Make your own brackets. It's just for fun. We're just for fun.
All right, the 8 seed, the Bondi bait, versus the 9 seed, the 9-inch Bobby bait.
Wow, this one's an easy one for me. I am a Bondi guy through and through. I have caught so many fish on bondies. The bondi bait opened my eyes about 12 years ago down south, producing, turning me on to one of my most productive patterns. They've caught fish everywhere I've ever been. At first, when John made these, it was kind of thought as to be a river bait, a current bait, and the guys that know are the guys that know that these things catch fish everywhere, lakes, rivers, bathtubs. It doesn't matter. I am bondi bait through and through.
Yeah, I mean, the bondi bait, the versatility there for jigging, especially when you get to later in the season or it's cold or just in a deeper water approach. I can certainly cast them too. That Bondi Royal Orbo is actually a pretty neat bait. A lot of action on it.
Jumping the gun.
Yeah. Oh, is that? Oh, it's separate. Oh, I thought you were kind of going with the same kind of little family.
No.
Straight Bondi. Okay. Well,
yep, the vertical jig Bondi.
Vertical jig Bondi. Man, that's a tough choice.
We're gonna get the Orbo shortly.
Oh, okay. I just gotta say, because it's kind of a little take on there, and they have the Bondi 2.0. I actually saw one of the biggest fish I've ever seen on the 2.0. Remember the one with the tail?
Yep.
Not with the blade, but with the tail. I don't know if they still make that or not. But on a gold one of those, I actually saw one of the longest fish I've ever seen, or at least it was up on Vermilion anyway. Saw one up there. I'm gonna go with the Bondi. On this one.
Oh man, I like them both. The bobby bait is great up on Chautauqua. Bondi, oh man. If I could only have one in my boat year round, it would be a Bondi bait. That's why I'm going to vote on that one.
Yeah, it's a good one. I mean, the bobbies are great, man. They're really good baits. I just absolutely swear by them. I guess myself, I don't throw it a ton. Simply, I just throw a lot more suic, so I just don't have a lot of bobbies. So I guess it's a little unfair on my part. But there's not a lot of baits out there. Maybe more now, but there's not a lot of them that do what the Bondi does either. So.
All right, the next matchup, the 5 seed, Believers, versus the 12 seed, the OG lunge and tail bucktails.
Ugh.
Oh, man.
Well, that sucks.
You know what? There's so many lungeons on here. I don't think we've gotten to one yet. But there's so many lungeons on here. It's like, where do you put them? You can't give them all like high seeds or whatever, So it may suck for the Believer being a 5 seed. But here's your 5-12 matchup, Greg.
Yeah, it's funny because the original lunge and tail I had back in the early 2000s on Mille Lacs, and God, we caught some big fish on those things, and they were a staple during the early bad fish videos that we did, and caught a lot of fish on those original lunge and tails. But, the Believer, I've caught fish for years on Believer. The 10-inch Believer, I won the Cave Run PMT here. Me and Tony fishing it. We caught the fish on a 10-inch Believer in that one. And I've caught just a ton of fish on Believers from 8-inch to 10-inch, jointed, squirrely. It doesn't matter. So in this case, I think I got to go with the 10-inch with the Believer, because it's just been more consistent for over the years, and it's just been a great bait.
Yeah, that's a good bait. So the first one I ever had of a Believer, I just found it floating when I was probably in 8th grade, maybe 7th grade, just fishing in the river there, and found it floating, and I kept it in my tackle box. I ended up throwing it once I got more into musky fishing and caught fish on it, and bought several after that. So. It's a great bait. It's versatile, like you said, cast and troll. You can do a lot of things with it. They got a lot of great models out there. They're fish catching bait, no doubt. I mean, all things being equal, I guess I'd probably still go with the bucktail in this case, just because if I can only have those 2 baits ever. In this case, I think the bucktail is going to win out for me. But both good baits, man. Good. That's a tough one for me.
Yeah, I'm not. I do like Believers when I'm heading up north. But lunge and tails, that size bucktail for me. It's 2/3 of the bucktails I own are lungeons, so I'm going with the lunge and bucktail. All right, maybe not the original lunge and tail, but lunge and bucktails in general. Yeah, all right, the next matchup. This is another tough one. This is going to piss off a lot of people. 4 seed Suix, 13 seed Giant Jackpots.
Ooh.
What did you say now? Sorry.
4 seed are Suics. 13 seed are giant jackpots.
Well, I can. This is not a hard one for me because I've never met a jackpot that I couldn't fuck up a fish on. So I.
Yeah, you have to catch the fish or just see the fish.
Exactly. I mean, do I want?
Oh, goddamn! Do they love to follow and miss those things?
Do I want to watch a fish jump out of the water with it, or do I want to catch one? And I got to go with Suic. I've caught so many fish on Suics over the years. I've caught them from Kentucky all the way to Minnesota, all the way to Canada. I've got some really, really big fish in Minnesota on Suics. And what I love about a Suic is you can hand it to anybody. And I can make it, I can hand that bait to anybody, and all I tell them is just, jerk it, reel up the slack. Jerk it, reel up the slack. And it's just a bait that you can teach anybody on. It was actually the first jerk bait I ever caught a muskie on. I ordered it from Bass Pro. You could get 3 of them for like $28. This was a long time ago. And I got a fire tiger, a black sucker, and that green pike-looking one that I never really understood what color it was. The fire tiger, when I caught my first jerkbait muskie, a 37-incher, back in the early 90s on that. So I got to go Suic.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Suic on that as well. The jackpot, the walk the dog style baits in general, great time and a place kind of bait. Typically, but the Suic, it gets it done when they're hot, it gets it done when they're cold, it gets it done and everything in between. That's another bait, maybe behind the Medusa certainly, and I guess maybe if you total up all bucktails or something, but it's literally hundreds of fish that I've caught on that for sure in my boat, or at least in my boat, and the Suic's going to get my win on that, specifically going to be the 10-inch weighted wood if I could pick one and one only. And if I got to go with a color, it'd probably be like yellow belly perch or straight black.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Brian?
I'm going to go with the giant jackpot. I just have a little history with that bait. First trip up to Canada with Ian Rindamaki and Rob Carr. I was batting third in the back of the boat, watching these guys in front of me just terrorize fish, and I finally put on a giant jackpot, and I think in 30 minutes I had 7 attempts, like you guys were saying, just flying all over the place, missing the bait, hooked for a half second, but it's a really fun bait to throw if you're looking for action, maybe not netting fish, but I like jackpot.
Real good chamber of commerce bait.
It's a goal. It's a goal bait. It's a bait to throw out there, and hopefully the fish have a goal of actually biting.
They move fish. There's no question, man. But crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing how many fish they move around. But let's go.
All right, next matchup. We have a caster and a troller. We have Boss Shads versus Royal Orbas. This was 6 and 11.
All right. Well, I tell you, both great baits. Have caught fish on both, but I got to go with the one I've caught more on, and for me, that's the Royal Orba. It's a bait I've played around with for several years, and a lot of people didn't throw it. Well, now people are getting into it, and that's annoying. But the Royal Orba was just a great bait. Can be worked at multiple depths. It's amazing how many big fish have been caught on this bait. And to me, it's just something different and just triggers fish to bite.
Yep, I think the Royal Orba is going to get my vote there as well. The versatility, like you said, people think about it maybe as more of a deep water or whatever bait, but I mean, you can run that thing right over cabbage. And that combination of that tail and that blade, and it's just it's a pretty unique bait in a lot of ways. I think it's got its own little vibration there. And I mean, there's a couple guys up in my neck of the woods throwing it, certainly, and a couple of guys that I know personally that have caught a really good number of fish on it. I've caught a number at my boat on it as well. And one of those baits that kind of gets them going when they're heavily pressured, or if they're not maybe in the mood, or something a little different. At least they'll get them to come out and look. It's a really good bait for moving some fish too. At least I've found my experience something a little different, especially if they're banana in the boat. Throw them, guide, throw them behind 2 guys, or the third guy in the boat. You can work it pretty easily. Cast it out, straight retrieve back, pretty simple. But the Royal Orba gets my vote here.
Okay. I do like the Royal Orba a lot. And for a lot of anglers, a lot of clients, when I hand them that bait, they're like, what the hell is this supposed to imitate?
Right.
It's ugly as hell, but it does catch a lot of fish. But I got to go with the Boss Shads. I use a lot of Polly's baits, whether it's the 4.5 inch, the Underboss has been a really good one for me the last year. His minnow baits are phenomenal. Fall baits, even great twitch casters. I'm going with the Boss Shads. Everything that Polly makes, I use a lot of them, so I'll be the oddball there. All right, the next matchup, 3 seed. And this is kind of history, 3 seed. We got the Swim Whiz going up against the 14 seed, the Triple D.
Oh.
Nice.
Well, that is,
Upset alert potential.
There is an upset alert here. I've done really well on both of these. But, again, I'm going to go with history on this one. And down south, the Swim Whizzes have been something we've used for a long time. It's a great bait for coming through the trees. I catch a lot of fish when we're doing our tree trolling. I think the Triple D has more potential. It's caught. I've done well with it up north, but I got to go with. You know what? It went into overtime. There was a buzzer beater. I'm going Triple D.
Yeah, that's a good call there. I'm gonna go with the Triple D on that one. That's just another one of those baits. I just feel like I can make them eat it, especially in the right situations. You can pop it, twitch it. There's good hang time on it. They're tough as nails. Grinding them through the rocks and stuff, or bouncing them off some structure. It's an excellent fall bait up in our neck of the woods. Great for presenting to fish over sandgrass as well. And of course, you can certainly troll it. A lot of guys do that too. Obviously, it's great for both. But I would go on the casting side of things there, and that's the Triple D is going to get my vote for sure.
My first 50-inch muskie on Chautauqua Lake came on a Triple D. Triple D
Nice.
has my vote.
Nice.
Good choice.
All right, the 7-10 matchup. We have Baker Baits versus the Pacemaker.
Oh, okay. I like Baker Baits, but there's a special place in my heart for the Pacemaker. It was when we were fishing Minnesota early, and those fish would hit. We're loving topwater. I caught so many nice fish on Pacemakers. A lot of some of the biggest fish I caught early in my career were on Pacemakers, so I got to go Pacemaker.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go the same there. Bait. Zach makes a great bait as well. I mean, the quality's there, and they catch a lot of fish, got a great following. But in terms of my boat and what I'm doing, it's going to be the Pacemaker. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but probably one of those first baits, at least one of the first really well-known ones that added in, having the hook clicking in the prop like that, just that little extra noise. Certainly, do that on Lake X stuff now or other stuff too. Drop a couple extra split rings on it to get that little clack in there. But I mean, the old wood pacemakers, man, that's kind of the gold standard in that prop bait, and has been for a long time amongst others, certainly. But it's a great bait, and then of course the new ones catch fish too. I've caught a couple of really nice fish, several 4-footers on them up in my neck of the woods. I'm going to go with the Pacemaker.
Well, I got on Chautauqua Lake, so I'm going Baker Baits.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Understandable. Yeah, for sure.
It's pretty easy. Sorry, Ty. All right. The 2 seed, 22 Short by Lungin Lures versus the 15 seed, the Manta. God, this is a tough bracket.
This is this is some haymakers being thrown here, but
there are some great baits on this.
Some interesting matchups. I like it. You're kind of mixing up. Guys are cast, guys are troll. There's a lot of options. I like it.
Well,
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I got one thumbs up.
Thumbs up, dude.
For me, I think I'm going to go with the 22 Short on this one. Not that I don't like mantas. I do. I bought a couple of at crashes down here in Kentucky. There was a guy come in and was doing some trading, and there he had 2 brand new hang 10 mantas, and I bought them. Do I need them? No, but they were in front of me, and so I bought those. And but I've caught just a lot of fish on 22 shorts, both casting and trolling, especially down south, but also trolling on Lake St. Clair. I've caught a lot of fish on them, and even up on the Eagle River chain and stuff when we were doing the PMTT up there. So pretty versatile. I'm going 22 short.
Yeah, I think the 22 shorts is extremely versatile bait there. Like you said, very good for casting, good for trolling. You can't really go wrong there. I am going to go, though, kind of going to your, like you said, a special place in the heart. I'm going to go with the manta. And the reason being is back when I went to school in Stevens Point, that was around the time when they stopped making the manta for a bit there. And everybody's kind of freaking out because we caught tons of fish on those. You know, back prior to the hellhound and that kind of stuff really being, I don't even know if it was made back then, but being widespread, certainly I didn't have any at the time. That manta was another one that was probably about the easiest bait in the world to get somebody to throw as far as a glide bait goes. And in the river settings that we were down there, often shore fishing below dams and just, in trestles and just a lot of that shore access spots, you really couldn't get a boat in the first place, even if you wanted to. That bait produced tremendously for us. It was pretty much a guarantee. So I'm going to go with the manta, the regular old 8-inch. Never threw a lot of the hang 10s, but I've still got a bunch of mine here. And so I'll never forget going to the local bait shop there. The guy was bragging. He had about a dozen mantas there, all in weird colors like brook trout and kind of your colors that not people buy. And he's like, this is the largest remaining selection of mantas in the country right here, boys, And so,
nice.
Yep, I'm going to go, yep. I bought 3-4 of them that day, even though I was a broke-ass college student, But I was like, I can always paint them if I need to. I caught so many fish on then yep, going to go with the manta on that one.
All right, I'm going with the 22 short, one of my favorite crankbaits. I think it works so well for me because so many people are afraid to put it out because of its size, where I catch fish all summer long on it. I know the depth curves very well on these baits. I even use 50-pound braid to get even more action out of these baits. 22 short for me.
Nice.
All right,
So that's the northwest or northeast.
you lighten up your leader as well for that, Brian? I'd like to know on that. Like I said, I'll go down to a 65-pound braid on that. The stuff I've casted, I use it on my downsizer rod. As Greg said, there was a couple guys I knew actually they were tearing up fish during before one of the PMTTs out there on the 22 short specifically, and just curious if you downsize your leader as well.
I do.
Okay.
Everything is downsized, including the. I think it's 80-pound, and dude, it's like Eagle Claw Walmart 80-pound mono. And
okay.
I know that sounds like intimidating, like they're going to bite through that. Well, even with those small little shorts, I rarely ever have issues with that leader coming back all scraped up.
Sure.
But yeah, everything's downsized on that. I even use the stay lock snaps on that just to get more vibration, or even snapped or split rings. I find that if you just downsize everything, you get way more action out of that bait, and it'll produce all summer long, at least up here in Pennsylvania and New York.
Yeah. So for sure, crucial to get that most action out of that bait and the highest performance, in my opinion.
Yeah, a lot of my leaders for bigger baits are 140-pound fluorocarbon,
right.
And if you try and hook a short up to that, it's not going to do a thing.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, that's the northeast region. Now we're going to go to the southeast region, and this is all casting baits. The 1 seed we have are Bulldogs going up against the Rad Dog spinnerbait.
Oh, man.
Well, the Rad Dog fought hard. It won the OVC tournament. They made they made their run. It was 1 out of 20 years they made the event, but let's just face it. They ran into something that they could not handle, and it's got to be a Bulldog. I can't, that's all I'm going to say. Bulldog.
Yeah, I think the same thing here. That's a great bait. Rad Dog's a great bait. It's got a great applications. Again, one of those baits were a staple in that sector, but man, I'm going to take the Bulldog 100% of the time just because it's the Bulldog, man. I can make them eat that, and they willingly participate.
60% of the time it works every time. I'm going with
you might
Bulldogs.
lose a few more, but then again, yes, too, you get a little bit less, a little bit more of a percentage than maybe bucktail. But
Can you hear him, Greg? I can't understand a word he's saying.
Hey Jeff, are you?
Yeah.
You're breaking up a little bit here.
Oh,
Yeah.
is this better? Sorry, I'm in the garage here, so I don't know.
Yeah,
Much better.
That's much better.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
it sounded like you were under a waterfall.
Oh yeah, I don't know. Maybe I was under my Modine there. Sorry about that. Appreciate that.
But yeah. So Brian, what did you say?
I said 60% of the time it works every time, and then he started breaking up real bad. I'm sure it was interesting, but I couldn't hear it.
I just said Bulldog. Yeah, it's going to be the top 8. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. All right, so that's the 116. The next seed, or the next matchup are the 8th seed Beaver Baits versus the 9 seed. God, I'm going to get killed on this. The 9 seed are Mepps Musky Killers.
Ooh. Well, there you
Beaver
go.
Baits, Mepps Musky Killers.
Well, I got to go on this one for me. I've caught some fish on the Beaver Baits, but I've caught a ton of fish on Mepps Musky Killers. So, again, probably the size of the fish, the average size is definitely different. But for me, it's got to be the Mepps Musky Killer.
Yeah, same here. I had Beaver Baits since the first year they came out there, and some of the original ones there moved a lot of fish on them. But man, if you can show me a bait that's caught more than the Mepps, boy, that's a tough one. To outproduce. So yeah, the Mepps for me, the Mepps number 5, Mepps Musky Killer, with hair, without hair. Throw in some of the other stuff like the Marabou or anything in that whole category, and yeah, the Mepps that's a Michael Jordan for me for sure.
I'm going to go with Beaver Baits, specifically heavily weighted ones, where even I throw on lead on my leader just to really get a good head fall on them. The Mepps Musky Killers, yeah, they're great baits. I use a lot of the Lungin LT9s and their single-bladed baits. Nothing against that's just my personal preference. If I had to choose one, it's going to be the Beaver Baits, but I do specifically make them extra heavy for where I fish. But yeah, that's the 8-9. So the next matchup, we have the 5-12. We have the 5 seed being Phantom Jerk Baits, the 12 seed being Reef Hogs.
Oh, a blast from the past. I've caught a lot of fish on Reef Hogs over the years. But it's and my ex-tournament partner, Groucho, passed away last year. I've still got 4 of his old Reef Hogs that we used to fish in tournaments together and stuff, and they were great baits. But the Phantom, it's probably right up there with the Hellhound as far as easy to use, whether it be the straight body or the squirrely, and no matter what size they make. So I think I'm going to go Phantom.
Yeah, that Reef Hog is a deadly bait, especially in the hands of the right guy, and with a well-tuned bait, if you get one of those magic ones in particular, a tournament scene that's shown that time and time again, especially in the hands of a dangerous man with those. But man, oh man, the Phantom, that's a hard one to pass up. I'm gonna have to go with the Phantom. Caught so many fish on that, and man, that's just straight up producer.
Yeah, that's a clean sweep for Phantoms, just because of how easy they are for the clients to use.
Yeah, no doubt.
Keep it simple. All right.
Reef Hogs anywhere anymore? Anybody? Are they around? I mean,
What'd you say there, Jeff?
I said, can you get Reef Hogs anymore? I haven't seen them up here in a long time.
Thorn Brothers still has some.
See, I have a couple. Okay, yeah. Not that I've been looking hard. Don't get me wrong. Don't blast me if I had. Oh yeah, they're everywhere. Well, I guess, but up here a handful of times I have not seen them. So
no, they
not for a while. They were around a couple of years ago, certainly, but I haven't seen them in a long time.
Yeah, Thorn Brothers does have them. I seen them this weekend. They had a few hanging on the wall.
Okay, right on.
All right, this next matchup is a difficult one for me. At the 4 seed, we have Shadzillas. At the 13 seed, we have Lungin Nutbusters.
Oh, okay. I like the Lungin baits, don't get me wrong, but I've caught a lot of fish on Shadzillas. It was an easy bait on St. Clair for guys to use, cast out, crank it in. I think I'm going to go Shadzilla on this one.
I think I agree that the Nutbuster, fantastic bait, catches a lot of fish.
Hey, you're breaking up there again, Jeff.
I'm still in the same place here, so I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't move. I promise. I'm going to go with the Shadzilla. That hollow body, soft body, good hookup percentage, great action. I'm going to go with the Shadzilla on that one.
Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love Shadzillas, but biggest Chautauqua fish I've ever netted came on a Lungin Nutbuster Jr. And God, I love those spinner baits. And yeah, with a 52-inch Chautauqua fish, it was roughly 41 pounds estimated. I know all the haters out there. I got to go with the Nutbuster, biggest Chautauqua fish I've ever netted. So Nutbuster Juniors for me.
Nice.
Yep. All right, 6 and 11. At 6, we have the Fat Bastard. At the 11 seed, we have the Susie Suckers.
Wow, this is an easy one for me. I got to go Fat Bastard. Tons of fish. In the summer up north, especially in Canada, it's pretty much on a rod at all times, early and late in the day. So I'm going Fat Bastard.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Fat Bastard on that as well. I mean, the Susie Sucker is a fantastic rubber bait, especially, probably one of the most durable rubber baits ever made. I would put it up against anything for longevity and toughness, and it catches a lot of fish. It's heavy, it gets down, it's got good action, especially, the curly Sue, if you add them both and they get the thumper.
Can you move? Can you stand on your head?
Maybe I can. I'll touch my tummy, rub my toes down one foot.
It's just weird.
Is it better outside? Is it better outside here?
Say something.
Yeah, can you hear me, Greg?
It's just weird. I
don't know. We must be having something weird going on up here. I'm just standing in my driveway right now.
Now it's perfect. It just sounds like you're talking through like a helicopter blade.
Oh, weird. Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess I haven't moved the whole time. I've been in the same area. So.
Yeah, it might be something.
Dang Elon Musk and his satellites are going over me right now. Maybe she's throwing it off.
That could be
sound like Tommy Boy Callahan speaking into his fan.
Whoa, that's weird.
It's definitely doing something there, but is
it really right now? It still is.
No, you're perfect.
You're perfect right now.
Okay. Oh, okay. So I'm going to go with the Fat Bastard. Again, like I said, Susie Sucker, super durable bait, gets down deep, good profile. It's caught a lot of fish, especially if you add in the curly Sue line there too. But man, the Fat Bastard and the Lake X line of baits, they're pretty tough to go against. So I'm going to go with the Fat Bastard.
Yeah, I think you guys kind of covered it all. I'm going to vote on Fat Bastard and move on.
Yep. It's a good one.
All right, the 3 seed, we have Red October Tubes versus the 14 seed, the Weagle.
I don't care what anybody says when they run up against the Red October Tube. I'm going Red October Tube. It could be Red October Tube versus Larry Bird, and I'm going Red October Tube. So, I'm Team Red October.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Red October Tube as well there. Again, versatility, deep, shallow, doesn't matter. The amount of lineup, the amount of versatility and depth in that lineup is hard to beat. The Red October Tube, for sure.
In the right hands, Red October Tubes are unstoppable on my vote. So that's got my vote as well for a clean sweep. All right, 7-10 matchup. In the 7 seed, we have Spanky Baits. We have the Fireball listed. Doesn't matter which bucktail you like of Spanky's lineup, but Spanky Fireballs versus Greg, the Dying Dog at number 10 seed.
Well, I don't care who is going up against the Dying Dog, but you're going down. So I cannot vote against the Dying Dog. That is the little engine that could, and even the days that it can't, it still wanted to. I have a very special place in my heart for Dying Dogs. I'm going Dying Dog.
Yeah, well, maybe I'd vote for the Dying Dog if that grumpy guy that designed it would have given me one of the prototypes back in the day. If that son of a gun, he said, nope, I can't give you one, so I'm going to vote for the Spanky.
That's super rude.
I'm just kidding. I think the Dying Dog, man, it'll get fish to move when just about nothing else will. It's got a profile and action that just doesn't really, it doesn't get seen that much as there's not a lot of baits out there that do what the Dying Dog does. Conversely, I've also been in the bay when I didn't have a spanky bait in the boat, and those damn hex blades are beating the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Everybody, a couple of the best guys out there texting me, yep, this is what I'm getting them on. This is what I'm getting them on. I'm like, God bless it. I don't have that in my boat. In fact, I actually picked up a couple from Spanky at the last year. Both phenomenal producers. I think for overall versatility and toughness, I'll go with the Dying Dog simply because it's one of those things in a tough bite. If they're not on blades and chasing, and you want something that's a little bit more off the wall, I think I'll go with the Dying Dog. But both phenomenal baits.
Now, I guess just talking with Spencer and the Musky Innovation boys at the Musky Max, they couldn't believe the amount of Dying Dogs that flew off the shelves at the Musky Max.
They are wonderful baits.
I wonder what took so long for them to catch on, and I'm not too happy. I mean, good for Brad selling a bunch of them, but I'm not too thrilled knowing that all these guys are going to have them in their boat this year. But yeah, Dying Dogs, they have a special action. I like weighting them down. You can work them as slow as you want. They are incredibly effective. Exactly like what Jeff said, on days where they don't want anything else, pull out a Dying Dog, you can save a trip. So that's my vote as well.
That's also the that's the mantra of a lot of people.
Yep. Jason Jackson's actually the one that got me on those. He brought him up to Chautauqua. I said, "Will you eat this up here?" And I kind of dissed him, like, "No, dude, like, no." How big that thing is. They're not going to eat them up here.
Inappropriate.
He put on a little bit of a claim.
Of course he did.
All right, and the very last matchup, the 2-seed, Top Raider versus the 15-seed, the Flaptail.
Oh, nice.
That one's now that one is
in general, though, right? No, we're not doing brand here. It's not just a Flaptail.
Yeah, just in general.
Yeah. Okay.
I think I got to go with history. For me, the Flaptail has definitely become a good bait in the last 3 or 4 years. Been throwing them more and getting more fish to go on them now that they're, before, the old original Flaptails were kind of smaller and not super really beefed up versus what we got now. And let's face it, the Top Raider's been out and produced fish ever since the inception. So I've got to go Top Raider.
Yeah, I mean, that's a kind of, again, another one of those ones where, man, northern Wisconsin and in most places, if you don't have a Top Raider in your box, you probably, didn't grow up doing too much musky fishing. The Top Raider, especially you get one of those old ones, get a little rust in there, one that squeals a little bit. Man, a great bait. But, like you said, recent years, the Flaptail's come into its own. And, man, if I could get my hands on my old faithful Joel Wick Flaptail, I think I'd take that.
Nice.
I am behind the 8 ball. I have not personally thrown a Flaptail. I've had a couple in my boat, or guys bring them on board, and I just don't have the patience, man. I mean, I know the Top Raider's a slow bait, but the Flaptail's even slower. I have obviously more history with the Top Raider. I'm going with the Top Raider. I know I'm missing out on the Flaptail. I just
it's one of those things. One of my customers turned me onto it about 7 years ago. He brought one up, and I had one from Joel, honestly, and he I do a little bit, but it's kind of one of those ones where they're kind of cumbersome to carry around and stuff. But he brought one of his own with him, and he's like, his guy's name was
You're
John.
back in a helicopter.
How can I be? I'm outside. I don't know, man. I'm telling you, shit's going on. I'm standing outside in the middle of northern Wisconsin winter for you, Gregory.
Well, it's for whatever reason you just go good.
It might be my phone. My phone's getting pretty low. I don't know what's going on, but
it's like the first 10 seconds.
That's weird.
It's good, and then all of a sudden you just take a dive.
My phone's getting replaced here in a couple of weeks. Not even a couple of weeks, probably 2 weeks. I'm heading up for Steelhead on Monday. I got a couple days left. Wisconsin Trail, and I'll have a new one for you for next one. So,
well,
hopefully that's Flaptail. So.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and finish this baby up, guys. If you check with us next week, we're going to go to the top 32. Make sure you go to, what is it, Brian?
On Facebook, the page is called Musky Hunter Mag Bracket.
Musky Hunter Mag Bracket on Facebook. Guys, check that out. Jeff, how can somebody get a hold of you to do some fishing?
Yeah, you can find me the muskyacademy.com program for the Musky Academy, and then WisconsinMuskyFishingGuide.com for my fishing website, or 920-639-6286, or you can find me on social media. I'm pretty easy to find.
All right, Brian, what about you? You're starting fishing here soon.
Yep, I'll be out there in about a week. Easiest way to get a hold of me is www.bigpamusky.com or Captain Chaos on all the social platforms.
All right. Well, guys, look forward to talking to you next week, and take care. And that's it for tonight, and I'll talk to y'all later.
All right, Greg. Thanks.
See you. Bye.